Hello and welcome. Many of you have been joining me for quite some time on this channel for reviews of various lightsabers, tutorials on how to use those sabers, performance routines, or more recently, costume discussion or costume reviews. Now, today I want to try something a little bit different and talk to you guys a little bit about how it is that I do what I do for the reviews specifically, and also a little bit about something that I'm hoping to try out that may change that process a little bit and allow you guys to get a little bit more involved. Here in front of me I have a variety of lightsabers that I have reviewed over time, ranging from the very plain to the very not. Now I wanted to talk about how I get these. You've noticed that I've got a lot of different lightsabers on my channel that I have reviewed over time. Sometimes lightsaber manufacturers have sent me these things to review. I try to be as fair as I can and point out all of my observations as best as I can to help you get an angle on exactly what it is that these things are, how they work, what you get if you order one. So I've tried to do that as best I can, but most of the time the sabers that you see on this channel are ones that I have bought. Either I see them on the secondhand market, I trade sabers that I have for other sabers, I look around for manufacturers who are having sales, or if somebody comes out with something that I just really have my eye on and I want to review, sometimes I have a little bit of money set aside so that I can be able to go out and get that and bring it in and review it for you guys. Some of these sabers I end up keeping. For instance, this Cthulhu one right here, this is never going anywhere. But a lot of these sabers turn around again, and I use them to trade for other sabers, or I sell them in order to finance the next saber that I'm going to review, which means that I have kind of a rotating stock. But what I bring in over time has been largely determined by what I'm able to find around, or just what I stumble upon. And that makes it a little bit difficult when I get questions from you guys on my channel about things like, well, can you review this specific saber, or how does it compare to this other saber over here? I often send out to the manufacturer and see if they're interested in having me review or anything like that. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But in terms of those specific requests, they're a little bit hard to fulfill most of the time. So what I had in mind recently is a couple of subscribers have come to me and talked to me about ways that they could help, ways that they could become involved. And so I thought I would put together a way for you guys, my viewers, to be a little bit more involved in what gets reviewed, how many reviews are done, whether new tutorials are coming out more quickly or whether I'm focusing on reviews, just to get a little bit of feedback from you guys. And that's where I stumbled upon the idea of Patreon. Now, if you're not familiar with Patreon, what Patreon is a content creator like myself sets up a Patreon account whereby subscribers or fans or basically just about anybody can go on to Patreon and they can pledge to support that content provider. There are two ways to set up Patreon. One of them is by the video and the other one is by the month. I have elected to have my Patreon account set up by the month because I figure that gives you guys the ability to control donations a little bit better. If it were by the video and then I all of a sudden release 10 videos, that would come as a shock and surprise. But if it's by the month, you can pledge 1 month, or you can donate 1 month, or you can support me 1 month, and then the next month you can change your pledge level down to something lower, up to something higher, or set it back to 0. The fees get charged at the beginning of each month. Now, what I'm intending to use Patreon for, if you guys just want to support what I do and help me bring in more sabers to review, then more power to you. Patreon is a vehicle by which you can do that. What I propose to do with Patreon on a base level is to send out questions to the people who support me on Patreon. Do you have any requests? What would you like to see happen? Where would you like me to focus? I don't promise that I'm going to stick to those suggestions. Ultimately, it's my channel, and there's a lot of you out there watching it who value different things. So, but I will take them under consideration and see what I can do to help fulfill some of those requests. The other thing that I'd like to be able to use Patreon for, though, would be to give you guys the ability to more concretely determine what it is that I review. So let's say, for instance, that if 10 or 12 of you wanted me to review a saber trio saber, and now I've gotten some requests for those lately. I've sent out a question to the makers. I haven't heard back on that one yet, but I'll let you know if I do. Let's say that you guys wanted me to do a saber trio, and let's say there were 5 or 6 or 10 of you who did. If you guys all got to, or if you guys were all subscribing and supporting me on Patreon, you'd have the ability to say, "Hey, we want you to do a saber trio saber." And if I look and you've got the funds there from those of you who want a saber trio saber, I will use those funds and I will order that saber trio saber. I will review it on the channel. All of the income from all of the donations from the Patreon account will go right back into this channel, and I'll let you guys determine if they go for things like sabers or if they go for things like cameras. I've heard that my voice is a little bit hard to hear on some of these videos, so if they go for things like microphones. So you'll get to have some input on that. But what happens with that saber trio when I review it, if I don't love it, if I turn around and I'm trying to use it after the review to get other sabers? Well, I have sort of a rotating sales stock of sabers, rather large one, floating around. If you're on Facebook, you may have seen them floating, or may have seen them on some of the various lightsaber trading groups. What I would also be willing to do in terms of the Patreon accounts is those of you who helped me buy that saber, I'd be willing to give you a discount on buying that saber from me. And I'd try to make that discount pretty proportional to what it was that you pledged that allowed me, or that helped me be able to buy it. So what that means is that, like I said, if you want to pledge and you want to support me, that's great, and I welcome it, and that's very wonderful, and thank you. But if you're looking for a specific saber and you and 10 other people want that saber reviewed, you ask for it, you pledge, I use those pledges, I get that saber, I review that saber. The following month after the review, at the end of the month, I will send out to my Patreon supporters a list of all the sabers that I've got for sale, and let's say that you pledged 20 bucks that helped me buy that saber. Patreon's going to take a little bit of a chunk out of that, but whatever's left over after that chunk, I'll give you that off of the saber. So I'll try to make it proportional so that so that everybody gets a chance to get first grab at the sabers at some point or another. But what that means is that if you were one of those 10 people, you were the first one to be able to get in on it, you pledged 20 bucks, you were going to buy that saber anyways, you're out nothing but Patreon fees, and I've used it to turn around the channel and be able to bring you a review. If you're one of the other 9 people, then somebody snagged that saber, you can use that discount for another saber that I've got, or you can hang on and wait, and I'll thank you at the end of the month and say thank you for helping support my channel. And if you continue, we can try it out next month, and another saber that you love might come around. So it's kind of a work in progress as to what the details of that will be, and I will try to work them out with people as best I can, field questions, get a feel for it as we go. But if that sounds like something that you're interested in, I'm going to include a link to my Patreon page at in the description for this video. Please give it a look, see what you think. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to let me know. I know that this video has been a little bit of shameless self-promotion, and I apologize for that. Next time I'll come back and try to bring you more cool stuff in a way that that wasn't quite so, hey, come over here and see how you can give me money. But figured I'd open that up, and if you guys have enjoyed my videos, please continue to watch them. I'll see what I can do, even whether you pledge through Patreon or not. I'll see what I can do about bringing you quality content, interesting sabers, detailed descriptions, and pretty good material on how to use them. Please join me back here for some of that, and I'll see you next time.